My neighbor has kept a garden for 30 years, and in all that time, I have never seen a single weed in it. Not one. Last spring, she finally let me in on her secret. The one thing she does every morning before her hands ever touch the soil. It's not vinegar, it's not salt, and it's definitely not some harsh chemical in a plastic jug. This is a photo of my garden 3 weeks ago. And what you're looking at right now, that's the same garden today. One ingredient made this entire transformation. An ingredient sitting in your kitchen at this very moment. You've just never thought to use it this way. Now I know what's going through your head. Here we go, another internet miracle that falls apart the moment you actually try it. Honestly, good, stay skeptical. I was too, right up until I watched it work with my own 2 eyes. But before I tell you what it is, let's be brutally honest about what most gardens look like in spring, and why everything you've tried until now has almost certainly let you down. Welcome to our channel, a place where we garden the way our grandparents did, but with modern know-how and a healthy dose of common sense. Today's topic is the battle every single gardener knows: weeds. The war that starts in early spring and never seems to end. And today I'm going to show you how to win it. Not for a week, not for a month, for the entire season. Let's get into it. Hand on heart, how many of you have a garden that looks like this every spring? Most of you. And it's not because you're lazy, and it's not because you're a bad gardener. It's simply how nature is built. Weed seeds are everywhere. In the soil, in the wind, on the soles of your shoes carried in by birds. A single square meter of ordinary garden soil holds thousands of dormant weed seeds, and many of them can wait 10, 15, even 20 years for their moment. All they need is a flash of light and a drop of moisture, and suddenly you're facing a green invasion. I've been gardening for a decade and a half, and in that time I've tested just about everything. I started where everyone starts, pulling weeds by hand, hours on my knees, aching back raw fingertips. And a week later, everything grew back like I'd never been there. Like I'd invited one weed to dinner, and it showed up with its entire extended family. So I graduated to the heavy artillery, glyphosate, the famous stuff. And look, I won't lie to you, it works. But at what price? In 2015, the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified glyphosate as a probable human carcinogen. And beyond that, research shows it can damage the very soil microorganisms your plants depend on to grow. You kill the weed, but you wound the soil. It's like curing a headache by removing your head. Technically effective, not exactly wise. So I put the bottle away and dove into home remedies. The internet is drowning in them. Vinegar, boiling water, salt. Vinegar mixed with salt and dish soap. I tried them all, and here's the truth. Some of them do work for about a week. Vinegar scorches the leaves, true, but it only touches what's above the ground. The root sits underneath, completely untouched, and 10 days later a fresh green weed is staring up at you from the exact same spot, practically laughing. Salt kills weeds, absolutely. It also kills everything else. Pour salt on a garden bed, and you've created a little patch of desert that stays lifeless for years. That's not a solution, that's surrender. And boiling water, fine for a small weed in a pavement crack. But try scalding an entire bed. You'd need a kettle the size of a bathtub. And even then, the root survives and the weed returns. So there I was, exhausted, frustrated, and honestly a little resigned. I'd convinced myself that weeds were just the tax you pay for owning a piece of land. And then something happened that changed everything. I have a neighbor, let's call her Mrs. Patterson. She's in her 70s, retired, and she's tended the same plot for over 30 years. And her garden is another universe. Beds straight out of a magazine, clean soil between perfect rows of vegetables, pathways without a single blade of grass in the cracks, and no weeds. Not a few weeds she pulls quickly. None, they simply do not appear. For years I told myself she was just lucky, or that she must be out there from sunrise to sunset, or that her soil was somehow special. You know how it goes. We'll invent any excuse rather than admit someone simply knows something we don't. Then one evening last April, I looked out my window and saw her walking the garden with a small hand sprayer. Nothing fancy, just an ordinary spray bottle like you'd use for cleaning windows. She was misting the ground, the paths, the edges of the beds, the cracks between the paving stones. And I noticed the liquid wasn't clear. It had a faint, cloudy white tint. And for the first time I thought, maybe I should just ask. But we have this strange habit, don't we? We'd rather kneel in the weeds all summer than walk over to the fence and say, "How do you do that?" Asking feels like admitting defeat. Well, one Saturday afternoon, I finally swallowed my pride. She was sitting on her porch with a cup of coffee, and I just walked over and asked, "And you know what?" She smiled and told me everything, no secrecy, no drama, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. And when she finished, I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because the answer had been sitting in my kitchen cabinet the entire 15 years I'd been searching. But before I reveal it, and don't worry, there's no product to buy, no link in the description. You need to understand one thing. The ingredient is only half the story. The real secret is how you use it, when you use it, and above all, what you do afterward. That afterward is what misses. Patterson does differently from everyone else. The key ingredient is plain baking soda. Yes, ordinary sodium bicarbonate. The same white powder your grandmother stirred into cake batter. The box that costs about $1 at the grocery store. But in this matters, you don't just sprinkle it on a weed. That only half works. Mrs. Patterson has an exact recipe she's refined over 30 years, and I'm going to give it to you now, word for word. So grab a pen or save this video. You need 4 things, all of them already in your home. 1 200 grams of baking soda, roughly 1 standard box. 2 1 liter of hot water, not boiling, around 60 to 70 degrees Celsius. Why not boiling? Because at a rolling boil, some of the bicarbonate starts breaking down before it ever reaches the weed. Hot water dissolves it perfectly while keeping it active. 3 1 tablespoon of ordinary dish soap. Any brand, any color, any scent, doesn't matter. 4, and this is the step most internet guides completely skip, 2 tablespoons of plain kitchen vinegar. Not horticultural vinegar, not some 20% concentrate. The regular bottle sitting next to your stove. Preparation takes 30 seconds. Pour the baking soda into the hot water and stir until fully dissolved. Add the dish soap, add the vinegar, stir gently, done. You now have a liter of weed killer for about $1, a fraction of what a garden center charges for a branded bottle with a smiling lady on the label. And 1 liter covers roughly 10 to 15 square meters. Now I know some of you are thinking baking soda on weeds. Come on, I get it. So let's talk about what's actually happening. Baking soda attacks a weed in 2 ways at once. First, when it lands on the leaves, it sharply raises the pH on the leaf surface. Most common weeds prefer a slightly acidic environment. So when the alkalinity suddenly spikes, their surface cells can't cope and begin to die. Second, the sodium disrupts the osmotic balance inside the plant cells. In plain language, it pulls the water out of them. The weed dries up from the inside. So why the vinegar? Vinegar plays a completely different role here. It's the door opener. Every leaf has a thin, waxy protective coating called the cuticle. Vinegar breaks through that wax layer and clears the path so the bicarbonate can reach the cells directly. And the dish soap. Soap is a surfactant. It kills the surface tension of water. Without it, your solution beads up into droplets and rolls straight off the leaf onto the ground. With it, the solution spreads across the entire leaf like a thin film. Total coverage. Nowhere to hide. So it's a 3-punch combination. Vinegar breaches the armor. Soap guarantees full coverage. Baking soda finishes the job from within. Each punch alone, the weed might survive. All 3 together, it doesn't stand a chance. Which raises the obvious question. Won't this destroy my flowers and vegetables too? And the honest answer is yes, it kills any plant it touches. That's exactly why where you spray is everything. More on that in a minute. Let's get practical. I've got the sprayer loaded, and I've got 3 of the most stubborn weeds out here to demonstrate on. Patient number 1, The dandelion, that innocent yellow flower that turns into a white puffball and launches thousands of seeds across your garden. The dandelion's real weapon is its taproot. It can drive up to 40 centimeters straight down. Pull it by hand and the root snaps, and a brand new plant regrows from whatever's left behind. Cut off one head, two grow back. So here's the technique. Set your sprayer to a focused stream, not a fine mist. Aim directly into the center of the rosette, the point where all the leaves meet. Why there? Because the solution runs down the stem and pools right at the root crown, exactly where we want it. Be generous. The leaves should be visibly wet, dripping. Timing matters enormously. Spray in dry weather, with no rain expected for 24 hours. And the best window is early evening. During the day, the sun evaporates the solution before it can absorb. In the morning, dew dilutes it. Evening is the golden hour. No harsh sun, no dew yet, and the solution has the entire night to work. Patient number 2, crabgrass. This one spreads low and fast, rooting at every joint where a stem touches soil, forming dense mats that smother everything around them. With crabgrass, don't just hit the leaves. Spray the soil directly around the base of the clump as well, because those rooting nodes near the surface are the engine of its spread. The hot solution helps the active ingredients sink down to them. With a heavy infestation, plan on a second treatment after 1 week. After the second, at most the third application, it's finished. Patient number 3, field bindweed. The climbing monster with white trumpet flowers that strangles fences, bean poles, and anything else in its path. Its roots can plunge as deep as 2 meters. 2 meters, that's practically a well. With bindweed, the strategy is patience and volume. Spray as many leaves as you possibly can, because bindweed absorbs through its foliage and transports downward into that root system. The more leaf surface you cover, the more reaches the root. Expect to repeat weekly for 3 to 4 weeks, but after each round you'll watch it visibly weaken. Leaves yellowing, stems shriveling, until 1 week it simply doesn't come back. One universal rule for every weed: spray with intention. If a weed is growing close to plants you love, hold a piece of cardboard between them as a shield while you spray. Simple, and it works. And think about this for a second. How many hours a week do you currently spend weeding? 2, 3. This takes minutes. Now for the part that actually matters, proof. Day 1, about an hour after spraying. The leaves still look green and healthy. The only clue anything happened is a faint white residue on the surface, settled bicarbonate. Don't panic, this isn't a chemical that kills in hours. It works slower, but it works deeper. Give it time. Day 3, and here it comes. See these yellowing edges on the leaves? The cells at the leaf margins, where the protective layer is thinnest, die first. The leaves are beginning to curl inward. That's water loss. The plant is drying from the inside out. On the dandelion, it looks like someone fast-forwarded it 2 months into autumn. And notice the grass and plants right beside it. Perfectly green, perfectly healthy, because we sprayed with precision instead of blanketing everything. Day 7, look at this. The dandelion completely brown, completely dry. Pinch it between your fingers, and it crumbles like old paper. The crabgrass mat dried through. And the bindweed, a few stubborn green shoots low to the ground, but the main mass is gone. One more treatment and it's history. And now, the moment of truth. I'm pulling this dead dandelion out of the ground and look at the root. Brown, soft, dead. The whole length of it, not just the top. This is exactly what plain vinegar can never do. And look at this soil. Clean, open, ready for you to plant whatever you want. Before we continue, if this is helping you, hit the like button and subscribe with the bell turned on. Every week we share practical tricks that save you time, money, and frustration in the garden. All right, back to work. Every tool can be misused, and I don't want you wrecking your garden with this. So here are 5 places this solution must never go. 1. Never on vegetable beds directly. This solution cannot tell the difference between a weed and your lettuce. Between vegetables, weed by hand or rely on mulch. I'll show you how in a moment. 2. Never on the lawn. It will kill the weed and leave a dead brown patch of grass around it. Lawns need a different approach entirely. 3. Extreme care in ornamental beds. If a weed is nestled between your perennials, use the cardboard shield, or better yet, paint the solution directly onto the weed's leaves with a small brush. Slower but surgical. 4. Keep it away from ponds, streams, and wells. Baking soda is natural, but in quantity it can shift the pH of pond water and stress fish and aquatic plants. Be responsible. 5. Never spray a wet weed. Rain or dew on the leaves dilutes the solution and cripples its effect. Remember the 3 conditions. Dry weed, dry day toward evening. And always mix a fresh batch because the solution loses strength as it sits. Now we've reached the part worth staying for. Because killing a weed is one thing. Keeping it from ever coming back, that's the art. And this is the true reason Mrs. Patterson's garden looks the way it does. Her system has 2 steps. Step 1 is the spray. That eliminates what's already growing. Step 2 is prevention, stopping new seeds from ever germinating. And that means mulching. Mulch does 2 critical things. It blocks light from reaching the weed seeds in the soil, and without light, most seeds simply never wake up. And it locks moisture into the soil so you water less. A win on both fronts. For paths and paving cracks, after treating with the solution, fill the cracks with a mix of 10 parts sand to 1 part baking soda. The mild alkalinity discourages germination, and the sand prevents rooting. This is how Mrs. Patterson keeps her path spotless, 1 refresh per year and that's it. For ornamental beds, use bark mulch, 5 to 7 centimeters thick. It decomposes slowly, feeds the soil, and lasts about 2 seasons before topping up. For vegetable beds, skip the bark because it acidifies the soil. Use straw or dried grass clippings instead, 5 to 10 centimeters around your plants. Cheap, effective, and it breaks down into free organic matter. And here's the bonus trick almost nobody knows. Corn gluten meal. It's a natural pre-emergent, meaning it stops seeds from sprouting while leaving established plants completely alone. Apply it to the soil surface in early spring, about 1 kilo per 10 square meters, before the weeds wake up. So the full system looks like this. Early spring, spray the existing weeds, wait a week, pull out the dead plants, they'll slide out effortlessly now. Then lay down your mulch and optionally the corn gluten meal, once a season, maybe twice, and you're done for the year. Mrs. Patterson put it in one sentence I'll never forget. She said, "A garden is like a house. You can mop the floor every single day, or you can deep clean once and then simply keep it clean." She does the latter, and she's right. Let me give you my own honest results, because you deserve realistic expectations. Last spring I ran the full system for the first time. Spray in April, then bark mulch on the beds and the sand and soda mix in the cracks. Do you know when I next had to deal with weeds? August, 4 months later. And even then, it was just a handful of wind-blown seedlings sitting on top of the mulch. 1 quick spray and they were gone the next day. Compare that to my old routine. An hour or 2 of weeding every single weekend from April to October. That's roughly 45 hours a year on my knees. Now an hour in spring, 10 minutes in August. With the time I got back this year, I built a raised bed, planted a new strawberry patch, and finally made the herb spiral I'd been dreaming about for years. Because that's the whole point. Time for growing, not for fighting. Now let me answer the questions I know are coming. Because every time I share this with friends, they ask the same things. Does it work on moss? Beautifully. Paving stones, walls, anywhere. Spray, wait a day or 2. Then sweep the dead moss away with a stiff brush. Can I use washing soda instead? You can, but I don't recommend it. Washing soda is far more aggressive and can damage paving, plaster, and metal. Baking soda is gentler and does the job. What about a big garden? Get a backpack pressure sprayer and scale the recipe. For 5 liters of water, 1 kilo of baking soda, 5 tablespoons of dish soap, 10 tablespoons of vinegar. Same ratios, bigger batch. Does it work in autumn? It works, but spring is prime time. That's when weeds are actively growing, and their cells are full of water. which is exactly the state the bicarbonate exploits. In summer heat, spray in the evening only. Is it safe for the soil? Used sensibly, targeted once or twice a season, yes. Bicarbonate breaks down naturally into harmless components, and rain gradually washes it through. Just don't flood entire beds with liters of it every week. And one bonus tip. For the most stubborn weeds, add a few drops of clove essential oil. Eugenol, its active compound, is a natural herbicide that strengthens the mix, and your garden smells wonderful instead of reeking of chemicals. Now some of you are wondering, why mix this myself when I can just buy a bottle? Fair question. Let's compare. Price. A commercial herbicide costs many times more per liter than this recipe, which costs about $1. Speed. Yes, commercial products kill in a day or two, while ours takes 3 to 7 days. But glyphosate can linger in your soil for weeks or months, harming the microbial life your plants depend on. Bicarbonate breaks down in days. No residue, no lasting damage. Safety, there's no contest. You can bake a cake with one of these ingredients. Try that with the other. This solution is safe around children and pets. A splash on your hand rinses off with water. And the long-term picture, and this is my personal conviction after 15 years. A garden isn't just a place where tomatoes grow. It's a living ecosystem. Every drop of synthetic chemical shifts that ecosystem, and the damage compounds year after year. I chose a different road, one that treats the garden as a living thing that deserves respect. So here's your calendar for the whole season, simple and complete. March to April, as soon as weeds begin sprouting, do your main treatment. Spray every problem area, paths, cracks, bed edges along the fence. Wait a week, then clear away the dead weeds. In May, lay your mulch. Bark on ornamentals, straw on vegetables, sand and soda in the cracks. Apply corn gluten meal to your worst hotspots. June and July, patrol once every 2 weeks and spot spray any newcomers. Minutes, not hours. In August, top up thinning mulch and spot treat as needed. September and October, do a final inspection, a last spray if necessary. Then tuck the garden in for winter, knowing spring starts with a clean slate. Total time fighting weeds all year, 3 to 4 hours, versus 45. That's 40 hours of your life returned. So let's put everything in one place. The recipe: 200 grams of baking soda, 1 liter of hot water at 60 to 70 degrees, 1 tablespoon of dish soap, 2 tablespoons of vinegar. Mix and load the sprayer. Application: directly onto the weed's leaves in dry weather toward evening, precisely targeted. Results: visible in 3 days, dead in 7. For stubborn weeds like crabgrass and bindweed, repeat weekly, 2 to 3 rounds. Prevention: remove the dead weeds, then mulch. Bark on flower beds, straw on vegetables, sand and soda in the cracks. And never use it on vegetables, on lawns, or near water. No rocket science, no magic, no expensive bottles. Just a simple method that old gardeners have quietly known for decades. And now you know it too. You know what struck me most about this whole story? It wasn't the recipe. It was the fact that the answer I spent 15 years hunting for was standing right behind my neighbor's fence the entire time. All I ever had to do was ask. How often in life do we chase complicated, expensive solutions, while the answer belongs to someone we greet every morning? If this method works for you, and I believe it will, tell me in the comments which weed is driving you crazy. I read every single comment, and I'll happily help you tackle your specific problem. And if you have your own proven trick, share it below. You'll be helping thousands of fellow gardeners. Next week, I'm bringing you something you've been requesting for months. The homemade fertilizer my neighbor swears doubles her tomato harvest. So if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the moment. Thank you for your time.